Hey guys, it's the Nerdy Movie Guy. So today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite movies, but not just that. I'm going to begin to review one of my favorite trilogies. There have been countless trilogies in Hollywood, countless trilogies of cinema, and I haven't seen half of them. I'll never see half of them. But of the ones I have seen, Planet of the Apes has to be one of my favorites. Now, I'm talking about the 2010s one, the one with Caesar as the main character. Now, I have seen the original as well. I've seen them all, and I plan to review them all. But just recently, I've rewatched this trilogy with Caesar. So that's the trilogy I'm going to begin to review. And that is one of my favorite trilogies. So I got the box set for it. So I got the Planet of the Apes. This is one, I can't remember if I bought this myself or I was gifted this copy. But this is one of my favorite box sets to have. It's each movie's in 4K. Right now, it's still on sale for, I think, $17.99 is the price it's been at for a long time on Amazon. So if you're looking to get your hands on a copy of this trilogy, now's the time to do it. If you don't care for 4K, if you just want to buy the Blu-ray versions of these movies, well, this set comes with the Blu-rays too, but they also sell each movie individually, obviously. But individually, the Blu-rays are probably around $5 each right now. So it's just a very affordable set, especially with the trailer just recently released for the new one next year. So I have this set. It's really cool. The back's pretty neat. It's got, picture from the movies. It's got all three movies on the inside. And something else that was in here I wanted to take out to show you guys. It sort of has this, I guess it's sort of like a booklet, almost. I'm taking way too long to open this up, but, yeah, I have it turned the right way. So, when you open it up, it has lots of scenes from the trilogy as a whole. Turn it around, and it's got that logo, Planet of the Apes. So, this is something that not everybody cares about, but I thought it was neat. It's cool to have. I don't really do anything with it. I just keep it in the box. But still, it was neat to see movies still having something extra, not just the discs. So, alright, so let's dive into the movie. Planet of the Apes, I believe, War for the Planet of the Apes, when it released, it had been the 9th Planet of the Apes movies. Now, it's the 9th if you count the one from 2001, the Tim Burton film starring Mark Wahlberg. That one's not a part of the rest of the movie's continuity, but nonetheless, it is a Planet of the Apes movie, so that's why I say there are 9 right now. So the one coming out next year will be the 10th. Alright, so Rise of the Planet of the Apes. It had a really neat opening. It didn't open the same as really any of the others. Of course, when you watch the originals, once you watch the first one, you kind of get the premise of what the tone, what the theme is going to be like for pretty much most of the rest of them. And then the one from 2001 has a very different opening. But for this one, this trilogy, I think what makes it fascinating for me is it didn't really paint the apes or the humans as the villains. There are victims on both sides. So this trilogy really kind of rode the middle for a while there. And so I'll get into it. So for Rise, the opening was pretty neat. You see the humans hunting apes, putting them in cages, taking them back for the lab, Genesis, in this movie. So, it has an opening. A lot of people, are against, obviously, everyone should be against poachers, and you don't really know what's going on in the opening. Pretty soon you find out they do take them to the lab. But before you realize that, you just get the sense of dread from the opening. So for me, given that opening, I was just immediately engaged. Now, once you get past the opening, you learn more about Genesis, your main characters, what they're doing, why they have apes there. Then you get a more clear picture of what the plot's going to be. And pretty early on, you can sort of guess how these movies are going to connect to the original ones. And it's kind of a straightforward story. It kind of explains it early on, in my opinion. But that didn't take away from the movie, and here's why. So, you get the gist of the plot pretty early on, but what it kind of pivots toward is instead of the scientists with this drug making the apes smarter, it pivots to Caesar. So you have James Franco as the main character for a while in this movie, but what happens is in this movie, once Caesar is taken from him and he goes to the sanctuary with other apes, Caesar kind of becomes the main character at that point. So it's rare, in my opinion, of the movies I've seen, it's rare that a movie with a big cast would just sort of pivot main characters halfway through. And that's what they did, and I think it paid off, and here's why. So we learn more about Caesar. I think showing him as a child sort of kind of made everyone feel for him from the start, and I think that was a smart move on when they were writing his story. So you kind of connect with Caesar from the start, feeling for him, but then as he's progressing throughout the movie, he's getting smarter and smarter and smarter, and that's what you expect. But what we didn't realize is he really is the start of this whole ape revolution thing. And it didn't start out that way. In this movie, Caesar's trying to escape, and he's trying to help everyone else escape. And of course, he has his enemies. He realized what Genesis is. It was explained to Caesar. I forget whether it's halfway through or not. It was explained to Caesar what Genesis is and what it does. So Caesar has an idea of what's going on. So right now, he wants to get to the Redwoods. He wants to help everyone. He wants to help his apes and just get everyone there. And that's the extent of his purpose, of his goal. Just to get everyone to the Redwoods. And I'll explain this later. I think when I review War for the Planet of the Apes, I'll have this come full circle. But my thoughts on Koba is I really do feel he has been the villain for each of the 3 movies. And I'll explain it in detail later. But for this movie, when Koba was the one, they were I forget exactly what they called it, but they were running more tests on Koba, and he was restrained. He was kind of moving around, and whatever they were testing on him, it was a gas, and it got loose. Franklin, one of the lab people, his mask came off, and he inhaled that gas, what they were testing on Koba. And Franklin ends up dying from, the effects of the drug. It ends up killing him. And so this is the thing that I find fascinating. For this movie, I don't know how many people stayed till the end credits scene. This is one of those weird things that I think should have been in the movie before the credits, but anyhow, there's an explanation to one of the characters that Franklin, he sneezes and blood comes out, and it gets on this other character, and this other character is seen at an airport, still dripping blood from his nose, and it's at an airport. So after the end credits scene, it kind of shows where that plane is. And the way they create this scene, there's no people in it really, except for like 5 seconds. The plane lands, spreads. Those planes go elsewhere, it spreads. And so this what they call the simian flu in the next movie, it sort of all starts with Koba. And it was sort of indirect, but Koba, in my opinion, started this whole thing, or started the descent of humans. So I find that fascinating. He was one of my favorites throughout this trilogy. I think Toby Kebbell did a stellar performance, bring Koba to life. So when you think about the technical features of this movie, I don't feel there were any plot holes. The only thing that was a little wonky is when Caesar eventually, in the sanctuary, he breaks out in the middle of the night to get the ALZ 113 at this point. He brings it to the sanctuary, and he's letting all the apes become smarter. And in the sanctuary, all the apes are mostly kept in the same room except for Buck, who's separate. We never really see Caesar give him the drug, but then later in the movie, he's, interacting and communicating with the rest of the apes. So it's assumed he got the drug. We just didn't see it. So that could be maybe the only thing that could be considered a plot hole. But I didn't think it was very bothersome. I thought, it was just something I noticed. And so to wrap up the review for this movie, the last third of this movie was just action. And you don't really get that a lot in the first half. And in the last third of the movie, there's a lot of action, and it just keeps building the intensity. So I think this movie, what it did is it created dread from its opening scene. And then it's intense, and then you're just on the edge of your seat for pretty much the last third of the whole movie. And by the time it's all over with, by the time the movie ends, they're now in the redwoods. And this movie could have been just a single movie. The flu could have taken place, humans could have just had their disease the way it happened, and the apes are in the redwoods, and that's it. But they made this a trilogy, and I'm so glad they did. And I'm so excited to review Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War of the Planet of the Apes. So that's my thoughts on Rise. I thought this movie was really, really cool. I really do think the sequels were better, not in the sense of this one being bad, but in the sense of expanding what Rise did, what it set up, and what it tried to accomplish. So overall, I was impressed with this whole trilogy. Rise was a really, really cool movie, and I can't wait to review the rest of this 9-film franchise. Thanks for watching, guys.